Formula One has witnessed some incredible seasons over the years, but none quite like the 1994 season, a year that would forever change the sport. This season was a roller coaster of emotions, from the tragic losses of two drivers to the intense rivalries and controversies that ignited debates still raging today. To understand the 1994 season, we first need to look at the landscape of Formula One in the early 90s. The era was dominated by legends like Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost, and Nigel Mansell. Senna, driving for McLaren, had established himself as one of the greatest drivers ever, while Prost and Mansell had also left indelible marks on the sport. But by 1994, a new generation was emerging, led by a young Michael Schumacher, who had shown flashes of brilliance with Benetton. The 1994 season was meant to be a battle between the established legends and the rising stars. However, significant changes were introduced to the regulations that year, including the banning of electronic driver aids like traction control and active suspension. These changes aimed to put more emphasis on driver skill, but they also made the cars harder to handle and contributed to a sense of unpredictability going into the season. The season began with high expectations. Ayrton Senna had moved to Williams, the team that had dominated the previous two seasons with their advanced technology. But with the new regulations, Senna struggled to adapt to the FW16, a car that proved challenging to drive without the banned electronic aids. Meanwhile, Michael Schumacher and Benetton came out of the gates flying, winning the first two races in Brazil and Japan. Heading into the third race of the season at Imola for the San Marino Grand Prix, the pressure was on Senna to deliver. But what happened that weekend would change Formula One forever. Friday's practice session saw a major accident for Rubens Barrichello, Senna's compatriot, who miraculously survived after his car became airborne and crashed heavily into the barriers. The following day, tragedy struck during qualifying when Austrian driver Roland Ratzenberger lost his life after crashing at high speed due to a front wing failure. The paddock was in shock, but the darkest moment was still to come. On Sunday, May 1st, Ayrton Senna started from pole position. But on lap 7, disaster struck. Senna's car failed to turn properly at the high-speed Tamburello corner, and he crashed into the concrete wall at over 200 kilometers per hour. Despite the rapid response from the medical team, Senna's injuries were fatal. The world lost one of its greatest sporting heroes that day, and Formula One was left reeling from the tragedy. The deaths of Ayrton Senna and Roland Ratzenberger sent shockwaves through the sport. For the first time in over a decade, Formula One was forced to confront the dangers its drivers faced. The FIA, under the leadership of Max Mosley, initiated a comprehensive overhaul of safety regulations, including changes to car design, circuit layout, and safety protocols. One of the most immediate changes was the introduction of the safety car as a regular feature in races, aimed at controlling the speed of cars after major incidents. Additionally, cockpit protection was increased, crash structures were reinforced, and new rules were introduced to reduce cornering speeds. These changes marked the beginning of a new era of safety in Formula One, which has continued to evolve ever since. While the sport was still coming to terms with the loss of Senna, the championship battle continued. Michael Schumacher, who had been dominant early in the season, found himself at the center of several controversies. The first major incident came at the British Grand Prix, where Schumacher was penalized for overtaking on the formation lap, and subsequently ignoring a black flag, an action that led to a two-race ban. Then came the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps, where Schumacher crossed the finish line first, only to be disqualified after post-race inspections revealed excessive wear on his car's skid block. The skid block rule was introduced to prevent teams from running their cars too low to the ground, which could provide an aerodynamic advantage. This disqualification only added to the growing suspicions that Benetton was pushing the limits of legality. Allegations of Benetton using illegal electronic driver aids, such as traction control, persisted throughout the season. While no conclusive evidence was ever found, these rumors damaged the reputation of Schumacher and his team. The controversies surrounding Benetton's car, combined with Schumacher's aggressive driving style, made him a polarizing figure, hailed as a genius by some and criticized as ruthless by others. Amidst the controversies, Damon Hill stepped up as the main challenger to Schumacher's dominance. Driving for Williams, the team still mourning Senna's loss, Hill took on the mantle of leading the team through a difficult season. As Schumacher faced penalties and disqualifications, Hill capitalized, winning races in Britain, Belgium, Italy, and Portugal, keeping the championship battle alive. The title fight came down to the final race in Adelaide, Australia. Schumacher led Hill by a single point, a scenario that promised a dramatic showdown, and dramatic it was. On lap 36, Schumacher, leading the race, made a mistake and brushed the wall, damaging his car. As Hill attempted to pass for the lead, Schumacher turned in, and the two collided. Schumacher's car was out on the spot, and while Hill continued for a few more corners, his car was too damaged to finish. The incident handed Schumacher his first world championship, but it was a victory shrouded in controversy. Had Schumacher deliberately caused the collision to secure the title, or was it just a racing incident? The 1994 season left an indelible mark on Formula One. The tragic loss of Ayrton Senna not only deprived the sport of one of its greatest talents, but also sparked a revolution in safety that continues to save lives today. The controversies and intense rivalry between Schumacher and Hill set the stage for one of the sport's most dominant careers, as Schumacher would go on to win 6 more titles. The season also marked a turning point in how the sport was governed. The FIA's increased focus on safety and the enforcement of regulations helped to create a more controlled environment, even as the cars became faster and more advanced. But beyond the regulations and rivalries, 1994 remains a season of human drama and of a sport that was forced to evolve to survive. The 1994 Formula One season will always be remembered as a turning point in the history of the sport. If you found this deep dive into one of F1's most controversial seasons fascinating, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to Turn One, and share your thoughts on the 1994 season in the comments below.